Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all back to the Reyes Reflection Podcast. We are free to subscribe wherever you get your show, and remember to rate us so we can continue to grow. I'm the next Dr. Seuss here. As you can see, I'm rhyming left and right. We want to keep going, so tell everyone you know to check out the podcast so that way we can keep it up and you can hear from amazing guests like the one we have today. With that said, I'm super excited about this episode because this is a man that I've listened to for the last 20 years, which I believe is the full tenure of his career. If you've listened to Boston radio, then I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. If you haven't, then I think you've been living under a rock, but that's okay. After a successful career of jam scamming people and much more on Jam 94.5, he can now be heard Monday through Friday mornings on Hot 96.9. He's part of the Get Up crew. He is a gym rat, a father, a husband. Please welcome the freaking Puerto Rican, the GOAT of Boston Airwaves, Ramiro Torres.
Hi, everybody. What's happening, man? Thank you for having me.
No problem, no problem. So, your wife just ran the Boston Marathon, right? I know we were gonna do something earlier, but your wife ran the Boston Marathon. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so she just ran it. Well, as of this recording, 2 days ago, so she's still very sore. Um, but it's good. She finished. This was her third Boston Marathon, her fourth marathon overall. Um, the first one she ran was in 2018, which was the one that was the monsoon, which
Okay.
so yeah, she basically swam that one. Um, and then in 2019, her and I ran the New York Marathon together, which was right after our son was born. Then so then last year she was gonna run it. So every year she's run it for my ex-wife.
Yep.
Well, for the hospital that treated my ex-wife, for Beth Israel, because my ex-wife has a brain tumor. So last year, she went to run it and she did this big long training plan. It was the first time she was running a marathon, not right after having a baby. So she was very excited for it. My friends over at Channel 5 reached out. They did like a nice news piece on her. They had her on, they had my ex-wife on TV to talk about it. So we got a ton of money for it. And she was very excited and a little too excited. And it's funny because you could track the runners. There's an app where you can track the runners and stuff, and you can see their pace and all that things like that.
Okay.
So she's running, and during her training, I kind of helped her out with the training because I ran a couple of marathons before, and during her training, I knew what her pace was where she felt good.
Okay.
So, and she was going faster than that. She was going a lot faster than that pace. It was
Really?
good. Yeah. So, which you know what? First couple miles, you're excited. That's fine.
Yeah. The energy's up, the adrenaline's going. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, first couple miles, whatever. She's running it at, I forget what the pace was, but I'm looking at it and going, all right, well, you know what? She's excited. It's a nice day. She'll slow down. Now we're getting mile 8. She's still running that pace. Mile 10, mile 11, 12. We saw her at mile 13. She was running that pace. Everybody's texting me and stuff. Oh my gosh, she's doing so good. And I'm just shaking my head like, no, she's not, because she's not going to be able to maintain this pace. And the thing is, once your body kind of tells you that you're done, like once your body's done, I should
Yeah.
say not once your body, once your body's done, you're done. So at mile 15, she basically overheated. They had to pull her off the course. Yeah, she had 103-degree temperature.
Oh shit. Oh my.
Yeah, so they had to cut it. So that was not a fun situation. So that night she's feeling all upset and stuff, and she goes, "I want you to drop me off." Obviously, Boston Marathon wasn't a Monday. She goes, "Drop me off where you picked me up on Saturday so I can finish." And I was like, "All right, cool." That was Monday night. Tuesday morning, I wake up and she wakes up and she goes, "Drop me off at the starting line on Saturday. I'm gonna do the whole thing again." I'm like, "All right, psycho, whatever you want to do." And
Yeah.
sure enough, that Saturday I dropped her off. She ran it. The finish line was still painted. Starting and finish line were both painted on because it was just a few days later. And she technically ran it, 4 days later. And then, so this is the first one that she ran all the way through where the weather was nice.
Well, applause because I'm still on my couch to 5K. type of vibe here. So
Yeah, yeah.
I give kudos to your wife and yourself even for running the marathon. And yeah, your ex-wife Sandy, I believe that's
Yeah.
it's the brain tumor. So I understand she's battling brain cancer. So our hearts go out to anyone. And I believe that you can still donate with the link in your bio on Instagram, right? Are
Yeah,
they?
for the link, the donations go up until I think like another month or so. But yeah, so for the charity, she has to raise 8,500. She always wants to do 10,000 just because I don't know. That's a nice round number, a nice even
Yeah,
number. 10. So she raised the first time she did it in 2018, she got the 10 grand. Last year she got 10 grand. And this time we're at so far we're at 11,500, which is good.
that's
Um,
awesome.
so it's good every year. Every time she does it, it seems to be more impactful.
Yeah, no, get the word out. That's how you do it. Word of mouth, and I see you having the videos and photos on your Instagram. Your kids are all involved. I love it. It was just seemed like a really cool experience. I was really excited to see that, and I was like, I really want to ask him about that because I think that's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's like, have you ever ran a marathon? Have you been there when people are running it?
I've been there. So I went to school in Boston. I've lived in Boston, so I'm familiar with it. And so I've seen it, but I've never ran it. No, like I said, my I've had knee surgery, I've had injury, so my cardio is more like the steps at gyms and things like that. So I still do it. I'll give myself the kudos, but no, it's not anywhere near. But I have seen it in Boston. Yes.
Yeah, like the experience of it, because anybody who like I think some people they just know it's a thing, but they've never
Right.
really like even though they live here, they've never gone and seen it live. They've seen it on TV. It's different seeing it on TV because seeing it on TV, you get a couple of personal stories, but they're showing the really good uh the elite athletes.
Yeah.
And and people look at that and they're like, I could never do that. I could never run that far, that fast. Yeah, no shit. Nobody can. That's why those people are elite athletes. But everybody else, you have so the majority of the people that are running are usually running because of kind of like our story where my ex-wife is sick and you want to run and raise money, or maybe somebody close to them has passed, or maybe they even at some point were sick with whatever and beat it and they want to help out the hospital and other people that are suffering and stuff. So everybody has a cool personal story and it's all shapes and sizes, and that's the big thing. When we were there, I was talking to I was there with my wife's family and my sister-in-law and her boyfriend, and it was his first time seeing it, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna see people that you would never expect to see running forget about running a marathon. There's just people of all shapes, sizes, ages. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And there's something about the energy of the people being around you that helps you go just a little harder, which is why last year my wife went a little too hard and didn't finish. She was
So
too excited.
when you're watching her,
Yep.
how do you track her through the app, and then how do you get to the next? Is it like everyone's just kind of like the floodgates are open, everyone's rushing to the next spot to go catch them and see them? Or
Yeah, that's why we do two places. We see her. There's a spot in Wellesley that's basically the halfway point.
yeah,
Where we know there's a park. There's a street over, not too far. We could park in a Dunkin' Donuts, haul over. We get a nice little front row seat, and then from there we go to the end. And she always gets upset. She's like, "Why don't you go somewhere else? Go to Heartbreak Hill." I'm like, because we don't live in Heartbreak Hill. You're not going to be able to get in there. You
yeah,
have to find parking. I'm like, and if it was just me by myself, I'll park a couple miles away and haul my ass over. But I'm carrying little kids. I'm with their parents. I'm like a Sherpa. So we go from the halfway to get into the city to sneak in to park close to the finish line. So by the time that she's finishing, we like maybe got there 20 minutes before. It's insane. So
yeah.
it's a lot because a lot of people just do public transportation, or if they live near the course, they just like walk outside their house or walk a couple blocks. We're hauling ass the whole time.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, man. That's insane. So I can't imagine, like you said, the people who are running, I can't imagine even like I think of myself and I'm like, I can't do it. But I've had friends who have done it and they've been like, no, you can
You could
build
do
that
it.
up. You can build it up. You can build it up.
That's what it's for. Running, actually, a marathon, the training and everything, it's a great analogy for just for basically anything in life. I ran like 10 years ago. I ran marathons and triathlons and all that stuff. And one of the times I did it was with this it's a charity called Dream Far, where basically what they do is they get a bunch of high school kids, kind of underprivileged and stuff, and they train them to run a marathon. And you're thinking like, what the hell does like an underprivileged kid who might not be doing that great in school, how does them training to run a marathon, how does that correlate? But it completely correlates. But you gotta think about pretty much anything in life. Like let's say in school, you have I don't know, some big ass project due, right? A lot of kids are like, shit. Because a lot of kids, what they do usually, like I used to do, is the night before you do the big project and you turn it in the next day. So your first thought is like, damn, I can't do all that in one day. And it's like, yeah, no shit. That's why they said, hey, listen, this project is due in like 3 months. So you can incrementally do a little bit. And by the time 3 months are up, you're going to be done. So it's the same thing with the marathon training. People look at it and go like, I cannot do that. I cannot run 26.2 miles tomorrow. Exactly. Not many people can.
Right.
But you know what you can do? Maybe you could do a mile tomorrow. No, I can't do a mile tomorrow. All right, fine. Maybe you can run for 10 minutes tomorrow. No, I can't run for 10 minutes tomorrow. All right, fine. Can you give me 5 minutes? You can give me something. You can put one foot in front of the other.
Yep.
For a certain amount of time or for a certain amount of distance tomorrow. That's your starting point. Now you're taking action and you build on that. And during the whole training, a lot of training plans, depending on, there's just so many out there, depending on which one you're getting. They could be 4 months long, 5 months long, 6 months long, a year long. So now you're just incrementally increasing either basically how much time you're on your feet, the distance, the time, your body's getting used to it. Usually along the way, stuff is going to happen. Like you're not going to get injured per se, but you're going to be like, damn, I'm cramping up, or I got a shin splint, things like that. So you learn how to deal with that and still train through it. You're going to realize, once you start hitting longer distances, you're going to start realizing, damn, you know what? That lasagna I had last night, that usually doesn't hit my stomach good when I have to run 10 miles the next day. So now you start going, okay, well, next time I'm going to run that far, I'm going to eat this instead because my stomach feels better when I eat this instead. Everybody's different, but you start figuring that out during the training. It's the journey. You're exploring. And then the day of the marathon, that's when the day of the marathon, not many people go to the starting line and say, I can't do this, because they that's pretty much the day that you exploit everything that you've been exploring for the previous whatever the training plan was, 4, 5, 6 months.
Damn, Ramiro, if this radio thing doesn't work out, you can be a motivational coach, because you have me ready to run through a wall right now.
Dude, I'm trying to tell you, man. I'm trying to, and people say, you hear people say all the time, they'll say things like, oh, if I can do it, you can do it. Yeah. And you look at them and you're like,
because it's cliche, like
right.
I think it's cliche, but it's true.
If I can do it, anybody can do it. There is nothing. I try and tell this to my kids all the time. I'm like, listen, you just got to put in the work and take action. And it took me years to learn that. So I try and implant it in them now when they're younger, and hopefully it'll seep into their brains. And one day they'll be like, oh, wow, Dad was right.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened yet, but I mean, maybe one day.
So while we're wrapping up this topic, you're very big into fitness and mixed martial arts. What caused you want to get into that? Is it just because you didn't want the dad bod, you didn't want the dad bod look type of deal? You're on radio, so people weren't going to, nowadays people know who you are, but people weren't going to see you as much. So is it, you just wanted to be a zaddy instead of the daddy type of deal?
No, I first got into it because it had to do with radio, because.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I first got into it, it was before, the internet was just starting. So radio people still were like, it doesn't matter what I look like. People like me because of my voice and my personality. And just even back then I was like, it's not going to be like that. People are going to, soon it's going to be, people are going to know what you look like too. But even regardless, even before that, I used to always want whenever people meet you, if they haven't seen what you look like, if you're on radio, this is, well, I mean, now they could just Google you, but for, earlier, in my career, it was they met you and they would say one word, but they would say it like in two different inflections. One
Okay.
was a good inflection and one was a not good inflection. And what they always said was when they met you, they say, "Oh." Now they could have go. Usually, it's two ways. It's "Oh," which is, "Oh, damn, okay, you're better than what I pictured in my head," or they go, "Oh,"
Oh yeah.
which
Oh
is, "Damn, that is not what I pictured in my head." So I always wanted to get the good O. That's
yeah.
how it started. So it started. Honestly, it kind of started with a little bit with the vanity thing, but then I started realizing, especially when I got on in mornings, when I was doing, nights and afternoons, that was different. Even I was working out then, but when I got on the mornings, that's when I got real serious about it because just like the marathon, like what I was talking about training for marathons, I started realizing I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be getting up stupid early in the morning. So if I'm gonna do that, I don't. I started kind of like going backwards. I'm like, I can't really be eating crazy, heavy, disgusting food because if I eat that, then I'm gonna go to bed feeling all heavy and sluggish. I'm gonna wake up still feeling
Yeah.
heavy and sluggish from the night before, and that's gonna affect me on air. And I'm not gonna be energetic, and it's gonna be like an obstacle that I basically put in my own way.
It's
I
like a
don't want
food
to do that.
It's like a food hangover.
Yeah, and so it started with kind of that process of thinking, and then from there, I was into martial arts and going to the gym and stuff, but like I just got more and more into it, and I started applying it to life and going like, wait a minute, the working out, the eating right, all that stuff, it's ultimately going to help me with everything. I think a lot of people kind of like they consider it a separate thing,
Yeah, they
but
differentiate it when it's an all-encompassing thing. Yeah.
right, yeah, they're just like, oh, it's just working out and whatever. It doesn't affect anything else. It affects everything else. It affects everything else. I work out when I get up first thing in the morning, and I'm the most energetic person when I walk in the studio every single morning. And people always go, oh, that sucks. It makes you tired and stuff. And I'm like, you're thinking of like the first, again, going back to the marathon thing. Your first couple of runs are gonna suck.
Yeah.
You're not gonna do. Not many people are gonna do it and go, wow, this is great. I'm born to be a runner. Most people are gonna go, this sucks, but you power through that, and then it gets to the point where sucks less.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like it's just, but you just gotta. It's consistency.
absolutely. Speaking for myself, as I stated earlier in the episode, I had a knee surgery, and so I'm slowly getting back into it, and I'm working out every day now. And at first, I was like, "Shit, am I really this out of shape?" I used to be a 3-season athlete. I thought I was a pretty good in shape guy, and at first it sucked, and now afterwards, you walk out of the gym, you're like, "Oh, that feels good." Like that was a good workout. I kicked ass
Yeah.
today. Yeah,
Well, people get to that point though. They kind of give up, right? It's like with everything, whether it's that, a diet, they'll
yeah,
go, "Oh, man, I started this diet and after 3 days, I'm still fat. I don't understand. It's not working. Let me go back to what I was doing before, which is how I got this fat to start with." And it's like, you just, it's, and you see that a lot. I see it all the time. And
yeah,
I'm just like, you probably should. I'm not gonna be that guy. I don't
yeah,
want to, because then people look at you like, shut up, live your own life. I'm like, all right, fine.
yeah, yeah.
So
I'm just gonna stay out of it, right?
yeah.
Well, you touched base on it as we're all kind of like we said, everything weaves in together. At the start of your morning career, at the start of your career, you were a morning host. I'm sure your workday starts what, like 3, 4 o'clock type of deal?
I get up at 2:15.
2:15. Okay. Is that to work out at
Yeah.
2:15? Yeah. So you kill it at the gym, 2:15. So what time are you in studio?
I usually get there about four, probably about 4:30 ish. I listen. I'm crazy. I have like a whole routine. I'll get there, and then I immediately go into an office. Just I there's an office for one of our marketing girls, and I break into the office every morning because they don't exactly have high security for the doors. I literally just grab like you could do the old credit card trick,
Yeah.
or or just like a thick piece of paper, and so I usually go in her office and I go in there and meditate, and I have this whole routine that I do before I go on air. So usually I'm the first person to the building as far as the show, but I'm the last person in the studio usually.
Okay. Yeah. That's that Puerto Rican time.
Yeah, yeah,
So you started your career off at Fun 107, is that right?
yeah.
Okay, and before going to Jammin', so what was the grind like back then and getting yourself out there? You're trying to market yourself, you're trying to learn the business. So what was that like back then?
So it was just, I don't know if I should would say it's different. I mean, it's definitely different. I don't know if it's harder or easier than it is now, because so back then it was about just getting basically getting an opportunity to get on air. Get
Okay.
on air somehow, and then from there now it's like you're on the field. Now you got to get your reps in, you
Yep.
know?
Hmm.
So but now the difference is anybody, you can get your reps in easily. You could do a podcast, which is
Yeah.
true. You know what I mean? You could do things like that. Um, but the difference with that is that now the pool of people that you're competing against is bigger,
Yes.
because anybody could do it,
Hmm.
so you got to do something special to stick out. So back then it was about getting the opportunity and having somebody see enough in you to not fire your ass or something like that, because again there's like a million people who, it's like just like this long line of like, let's put this on the conveyor belt and see if it works. Oh, it doesn't work, okay, you're gone, let's try someone else. Oh, that's not working, you're gone, let's try someone else, because all these people want that opportunity.
Yep.
Now it's, hey, listen, you can get your reps in as many times as you could be someone who's like, I'm going to do a podcast once a month. I could do a podcast once a week. I'll do a podcast every damn day. But you got to understand that everyone's doing it. So what are you going to do to stick out? So I'll just say it's different. I don't know if it's harder, easier. I guess it depends on your point of view. But I actually interned at Jammin', and then I got on while I was
Okay.
interning at Jammin'. I got on at Fun, and then I got on at Jammin' after
Oh,
that.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, you're totally right. And I think that's just the way the world works. It's like everything is fast, fast, fast. And so
yeah,
it's like you said, that conveyor belt of like I'm competing. But I think to your credit, I think a big thing is it when people stick to it. I think you gotta try to even if
100%.
you only if you got 5 views, you know, then next episode you can get 100 views or listens or whatever streams, whatever you want to call it, because more often than not, people 90% of people will see that and they'll say, "Oh, I only got 2 this one. Oh, I guess I suck. That's it. I'm done."
Right.
It's like, no, like Rome wasn't built in a day. I wasn't there. I don't know 100% sure, but I'm I'm gonna surmise. You can't run we'll switch it. You can't run a marathon in a day. There you go. So
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like it's just like everything else. A lot of people, especially now, we're in an age where you can get what you want. It's YouTube. Life is YouTube. You can
yes,
get what you want, when you want, as many times as you want it, right now.
yeah,
And I can have it. And then if I want it again, I'm gonna repeat it. And then if I want it again, I'm gonna repeat it. And so people think that that's how getting whatever it is you
how
want to do in
success
life,
is.
how success is, right? But that's not how it is. Success, it doesn't go, a lot of people want to go 1 to 10 because they'll look at the most successful people in whatever it is that they want to do, and they're like, that looks awesome, I want to do that, and I want it tomorrow. Well, if you can't run a marathon tomorrow, why the hell do you think you're going to get there tomorrow? And
Yeah,
it's easy to see something and you just see the positives and go, that's what I want to do because it's awesome. You get paid money and people like whatever your thing that the only whatever reason is that you want to do it. But another thing that I tell my kids eventually, my son's doing it right now because he's older, and my other kids eventually, when you figure out what it is that you want to do, don't go by the, oh, that's what I want to do because that's all the cool ultimate positives that you see. You got to go in there and try it out and see if you're willing to deal with the day-to-day negative bullshit that comes with that,
yep.
because that's what it's called I heard someone call it paying life's taxes. Like you want to be you want to be a social media star, guess what, you got to deal with people trashing you in the comment section.
Yeah.
You want to be a celebrity? Guess what? You got to deal with rumors and negative thing and
And
negative
people trying to be in your life and things like
yeah, things like that. It's like you can't say, "Oh, I just want the positives," but everybody else leave me alone. I can't deal with the negatives. No, that comes with it. That comes with the territory. You want to be a big sports celebrity? You got to deal with going to the an opposing city and being able to deal with people saying you suck, go to hell,
Yeah.
I banged your wife, things like that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just it's called paying life's taxes to get the it's just like paying taxes. You want to make that money, you're gonna make some of that money, but then you're gonna look at your check and go, God damn,
Yeah.
what the hell, you know. And
It's
that's
like
just what.
that iceberg picture. It's because social media, people think they see the picture, social media, it's like, "Oh, hey, look at me. I'm on top of the world. I just did this job." But they don't show any of the ins and outs of, "Oh,
Right.
hey, I got criticized by this person. I got told I suck by this
Yeah.
person." It's one of those things, and people like yourself, and I think we're cut from the same cloth in that regard of like, you have to kind of bust your ass. You have to be willing to go through the shit,
Yeah.
crawl with the pigs before you can go ahead and come unclean. So,
Just
uh,
that, but not like this magic. A lot of people go like, okay, I'm willing to work hard up until this magic line, and then once I cross it, everything's gonna be copacetic and unbelievable, and I'm gonna have a great day every day. No, that's
nope.
not what it is. It's there's always gonna be that thing every day. And every day you're gonna deal with something different. So you need to get into that mindset of you got to do uncomfortable things. You're gonna be in uncomfortable situations. That's just what it is if you wanna progress through life.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. So we'll circle back. What was it like doing those jam scams? Because those are hilarious. I love those things. What was that like? Did you have some people legitimately want to like jump through the phone to kill you?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it was.
Even
Um,
after you told them it was a joke?
yeah, well, it depended on what I was calling them
Yeah,
about.
yeah, that's true, right? Depends on
They
the
wanted
joke.
to. They wanted to like. They went from like wanting to kill me to wanting to kill whoever their friend was that
Yeah.
told me their business and stuff. And the best ones were the ones that we couldn't air on the radio, just because those are usually the person was so embarrassed for one reason or another, and so and
Is it
they
that you have to get them to approve,
you have
that
to
they're
get them to like, yeah, you have to get them to a degree for you to air them on the air.
okay, okay.
So that was another process entirely, because unfortunately, everyone thinks that their little set group of friends is everything. So they're like, everyone's gonna know who I am. I'm like, no, your idiot friends are gonna know who you are.
Yeah.
Everybody else is just gonna laugh at the situation and forget about it and say, what's he gonna give me tomorrow?
I was gonna say because you do it every day, the continuity is endless.
Yeah,
Yeah, like Monday through Friday, people don't even myself, I may laugh about it that day, but then the next day I'm like, "Oh, what's this one gonna be? What's
right.
this one gonna be?" Yeah, that's
It's
how
like
I was, yeah.
yeah, it's like an episode of your favorite TV show. You're like, oh, I really enjoyed these certain episodes. These episodes were like, all right,
Yeah.
this episode kind of sucked, but it's like you're just gonna watch again next week. You're not gonna stop and go, wow, that episode was so memorable that I'm just gonna stop watching this show and go back and watch that episode over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, there may be one that you are like, "Oh, yeah, I really wanna listen to that again," but like you said, the vast
Yeah,
majority of it is just like, "Okay, that was cool, that was funny, I may tell my coworkers about it, I may tell my friends about it, but we'll move on." Yeah. Yeah.
and like it's so funny because some people are so like, I'll say unintentionally narcissistic. I'm like, what do you think? Someone's gonna listen and find it funny and then go, oh, I'm gonna go find that person and stalk them and remind them of the shit they did. I'm like, no. They're in their own head worried about getting to work or whatever.
Yeah, right, their life, right, right.
Yeah.
I would always, it's funny, when I said I legitimately grew up and off camera, I said that you were like my childhood hero. That's because right before school being dropped off, I would tell my mom that we had to listen to the Jam Scam. I was not getting out of the car until I finished listening to you. So, and I was like, I have to. And she was like, okay. So then it just ended up becoming a routine of
Yeah.
afterwards. So, no, I definitely appreciate that. All the laughs that you gave me. I probably shouldn't have heard it as like an 8, 9-year-old, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It,
As the years went on, I came to learn that a lot of people, their bonding moments with their kids was listening to that. And I'm like, what the hell kind of parent are you? Don't let them listen to that.
yeah, right, right. That's for you. My mom's a huge fan of you, by the way. So, mom, that's to you. No, I'm going.
Hi, mom.
So, your career really took off in the mid 2000, right? 2005. So successful start. What caused your departure from jamming? Because you ended up leaving, and I remember all of a sudden you just weren't there. And as you stated, internet wasn't really what it was to this day. Now you can Google anything, you can find anything.
Yeah.
But I think at the time it was one of those things where it was such a new coming type of deal that I like all of a sudden I was like, oh, he's not on the radio. He's not on Jamming anymore. And I think it was like, I don't know, the morning crew, whatever. I don't know. I don't even know who. It's not the Get Up Crew, but it was like some breakfast club. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what is this? So what caused your departure?
Oh man, it was a few different things all kind of getting together at once. It was um my program director now, who I have at Hot, was my first program director ever. He gave me basically every opportunity that I've ever had in my career is because of him. Like I always say, I'm like, you're the Bill Belichick to my Tom Brady.
Yeah.
It just is, you know. So he wasn't there anymore. He was
Okay.
working in New York. We had another program director come in, and he and I, we just let's just say our styles didn't mesh. I mean,
Been there.
yeah, it was, I'm putting it nicely, and I've learned a lot since then, but at the time we would get into heated arguments, but I've come to learn more. It's not necessarily at the time I used to be like, you don't know what you're doing, you suck. It wasn't that. It was just that we just had different style. I used to call him a college coach, and my he'd be like, what do you mean by that? Because you could say a college coach to somebody, and they're like, wow, that's like a compliment. I didn't mean it as a compliment. I meant it as he is the type of guy who wants everybody to buy in on his philosophy. So a college coach comes in, he's like, listen, guys, just do what I tell you to do and we will win. All right. Just follow my lead. And they're all college students. Yes, whatever. We'll do whatever you say,
Yeah, they're 18, 19. They're like, they
Yeah.
won't. Yeah.
Whereas an NFL coach, he doesn't have 18 to 21, 22-year-old, athletes at this point in their life. He's got
Men.
a 21-year-old. He's got a 30-year-old. He might have a guy who's older than him. Some of them are married. Some are divorced. Some, everybody is an individual.
Yeah.
And at that point, a good NFL coach treats them like individuals. He knows some people are motivated by positivity. He
Yeah.
knows some people are motivated by, hey, listen, if you don't hustle, we're going to cut your ass by being a little scared. Some people are motivated by, hey, that guy over there, the new guy we just signed, he's pretty good. What are you going to do to keep your job? Everyone's motivated in a different way. And that's how a good NFL coach works. He knows what motivates each player individually, and he targets that. And that's the way I used to talk to my old program director. I said, listen, I know you're trying to get me to think a certain way, the way you think. I'm an individual. I think differently. I'm somebody who likes to know. Like if you say, this is what we're going to do, I'm like, cool. Why are we going to do that? I'm not. And he would take that as questioning his authority or not
Yeah.
agreeing with them. And I'm like, no, that's not my thing. I just always want to know why I'm a curious guy. I want to know why we're doing certain things, why you think we should do this instead of this, why we should stop doing this or why we should start doing this. And one time, I mean, this went on for a while and years. So this was when I left, it was 2015. So it was probably around 2015. It was 2014, 2015 when I did this, but like 10 years before, there's this thing called the what the hell is it called? The Gallup poll or something like that. It's like basically one of those personality profiles that you cannot answer wrong. It asks you questions and you answer it, and then it kind of tells you what personality type you are.
Okay.
So I was at my house and I found the one from about 10, 12 years ago, and I would look through it. It was right from like 2003, 2004, and I'm looking through it and I'm like, damn, I'm still basically this guy. And a lot of the things that it said was, you know, I like to be involved kind of with decision making. Like not decision making like for everything, but like you tell me to do something and I'm kind of be like, I don't know. I think if I was in the military, if I could get through the special forces training, I'd be one of those guys where it's like, here's the mission, and I'd be like, all right, cool. Let me figure out how to do that mission. You're not just going to tell me how to do it. Let me give you some input on how we should do this mission. I'm like that, and it's funny because one of the things that it literally said was, how was it worded? It said something to the effect of, could be could have the image as being against authority, something like that. But and
Okay, so
and
you're
I
difficult to work with or something like
yeah,
yeah.
like to higher ups because I'm
Okay.
because I'll question, and not in a bad way, but I'm ultimately like, hey, that's what you want it, how you want it done, I'll do it or whatever. But I am gonna ask questions and try and do certain things in ways that I think might suit me better because ultimately it's my career, not yours. So, but anyway, I made a copy of this thing. This is like it was quite a few pages long, and I came in the next day and I dropped it on his desk and I said, "Hey, listen, that's why I am the way I am. Look at that thing. It tells you how I am. That's from 10 years ago and it's still me." And he looked at it and goes, "Oh, all right, cool, thank you." And he goes to hand it back to me. I said, "Dude, I made you a copy. Look through that. I'm trying to tell you. This is why that all those questions that all those opinions that you have of me. This is why, because this is the way I work. This is my personality." He never looked at it. So it was just he and I meshed very differently. He needed someone who was going to be like, "Yes, boss, whatever you say, I'm in." And I'm not
He
like
he
that.
needed he needed a yes man and a lemming. And for the
Yeah.
people who don't know what lemmings are, it's a game of which you would drop the little guys and they would literally do whatever you wanted them to do. And
He was
so
a
yeah,
sheep herder. He wanted a bunch of sheep. And you know what? And um and he's still like that. That's a personality trait of his. And I'm not, is it right? Is it wrong? I'm not gonna say. I'm just saying that it doesn't mesh well with me. So that was probably the main reason
yeah.
that I left. My contract came up and I didn't want to re-sign it. And
I think I Googled that. I think at the time I did, but that was like after I scrolled like 14 pages and it was like, oh, his contract expired. I was like, okay, all right, that makes sense. Like,
yeah, yeah. Well, that's a funny thing. So my contract was up at the end of 2015, literally December 31st of 2015, and they were trying to talk to me. And then there was a clause in the contract where technically I wasn't supposed to. I could talk if I didn't sign it. I could start talking to another company towards like the last couple of months if I was gonna not sign the contract or if they let me go or whatever. And I could negotiate with the company starting in July, 6 months out. So they were trying to get me to resign before that window, before the window in July, and I was like, I'm not ready yet. You
yeah,
know, yeah, I'm just I don't want to look at this or whatever. And they were trying to put pressure on me. And at one point, they brought me, one of the guys pulled me into his office and he said, "This is our final offer. You need to sign this." I go, "I don't need to do anything because it's not. I shouldn't even be talking to you guys right now." Like that's another thing that I don't like. I think why one of the reasons why I might be looked at as not respecting authority is because I don't care about titles, like job titles and stuff like that. And I think a lot of people start thinking like, well, I'm a vice president, and Nathaniel, you're just a whatever, an assistant manager.
yeah,
So that means that everything in every aspect of life, I know more than you. I'm more intelligent than you, and it's like that's bullshit.
right.
You might just because my title is higher, it doesn't mean that you don't have any great ideas to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I think look at things like that, and I just never have. I don't know where I got that from, but I just have never looked at it like whenever someone thinks that they're better than other people and stuff like that because of titles, I look at it as a negative trait because I'm like, you're leaving a lot of things on the table. There's probably some fucking genius working for you who has a great idea who you're not listening to because it's not coming from you.
Dude, everything you're saying is exactly me. Like I've had some bosses. So this is I wasn't always in the media and doing this type of stuff. I actually worked with kids for 10 years. So as you can imagine, whenever you work with kids, there's always inputs, there's always opinions, whatever.
Yeah.
I say that because I've had so many bosses, and my mom's gonna hear this. Like I said, she's gonna be like, "Oh my god, everything Ramiro's saying, that's exactly how my son is." Because same way. It's not that I'm disrespectful to authority. I will be respectful to them. I will listen to them. But there is that level of respect towards me as the worker, as the talent. In your case, as the talent, there's got to be some level of respect. And I do. I think your analogy of the football coach is such a spot on one for people who don't understand because here in the NFL coach has to deal with the people, the personnel who have like, lives, mortgages, what have you,
Yeah.
as opposed of, the person who's just going to run through a wall because you're telling them to and because they have a full boat. It's a little different, life is a little bit more is a little bit more pin cushion at that younger age, where it's a
Yeah.
little older. Those people are a little bit more roughed up. But I want to say this. I think it's kind of cool that you have a contract. Like, I feel like I'd be pretty badass if I could be like, no, I'm not signing this contract. No, you. Like,
Yeah, well, no, the funny thing is like I just at that point I was, you hear stories all the time of people saying things like, "Oh, I was burnt out or this and that," and they'll
yeah,
leave like, they'll turn down a good job or this, and I would hear stories like that, and I'm like, "Were you fucking insane? Who cares? They're paying you this much money, whatever. Just suck it up and do it." But then I was in that situation, and I was like, I love. It came to it hit me hard when I realized, like, I love what I do, love it. And at the time, I was loving everything I was doing, but I started realizing that I was like, I was so um always whatever I was doing at the time, I was always thinking about the next thing because I had like so much on my plate, and I was so instead of enjoying each thing, which was all things that I wanted to do, which was all things that I loved, I'd be doing the show and going like, all right, well, when I got off the air, I got to do this, this, and this, and then after I do that, I got to do this. So I was never present, and that's when I started going like, hold on a second, this isn't right because it's not like I'm doing a job I hate. I'm doing the same job I've been doing forever and I still love it, but I was almost being I got it. I was getting a little bit burnt out by it. So at the time I didn't think not that I think I'm the shit, but I was
but you are.
no, but I was like if it doesn't work out here, I've been in radio long enough and I have a good enough reputation that I will I'll catch on somewhere else and luckily it was in Boston. Let's say it's not in Boston, it's going to be more of a challenge to build up what I built up. But I'm a very hard worker. That's that. I mean, I don't have it. I don't know what else. I don't have any special talents. I just literally like am consistent. I work hard. I know that some days you're going to get knocked back, but you just got to get back on and keep moving and keep moving forward. So I was just like, if it doesn't work out here and I don't get a job here, whatever. And mind you, at the time, I was 3 kids, divorced. I'm paying child support. It's not like I was
There's a
like,
lot of shit going on.
yeah, I had a
You
lot of
also
shit.
had a lot of shit
Not
going
like
on.
it was just me. If it was just me, and that's one thing. But I had people I was responsible for. But I was also like, no, if this isn't right, I don't want to sign on and keep going through this for another 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it was. And they were, and depending on who the person was, some people who were higher than my program director were like, well, sign and we'll set it up so that you don't have to he's not you don't have to answer to him or anything like that, and I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. That's not, I
Yeah.
like working as a team. I like different people giving ideas and things of that nature. I love that stuff. I don't want to make it like weird because
Yeah.
now I'm here and it's like he's gonna have this weird resentment because it's gonna be like like he and I don't know each other and stuff, and I just didn't want to do it. So
The dynamic wouldn't have worked. No, it
dynamic,
just
yeah,
wouldn't.
the dynamic
Yeah.
wouldn't have worked. I mean, and some people probably like that. Probably like, yeah, that's like juice. And I'm like, I like everybody. Like, if you ask anybody who's ever worked with me or who's been an intern, like, I'm like, do you have any ideas? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Like, I don't care. But, so, I didn't sign it, and they exercised an option called pay for play, which basically it meant so they took me off the air but they had to pay me like all my money for the rest of the year. So I was getting paid. So I was still like I was off the air and I was still the highest paid person at that station for 6 months. But but now because I was technically still like an employee, I couldn't discuss working with anybody else or anything like that. So um I
That's probably
literally
why for like the viewer, we or the listener, we thought it was so sudden too, because it was
yeah,
just
well,
like,
because I did a show. I went in there. I did a show, got off the air, went into one of the boss's office, and they said, "Are you going to sign this?" And I said, "No." And they go, "Well, you need to sign it today because now it was July 2nd, and technically the window started July 1st. Well, you need to sign it today." And I said, Listen, I'm not going to sign this today. I got to go bring it to, a lawyer, and I doubt that he's going to look at it and go, it's fine, sign it right now. So it's not going to happen today. And they said, well, then we're going to have to take you off the air and do pay for play. And I was like, that's fine. And then I went home to my wife. Now she was at the time she was my girlfriend, and I just bought a house. We just bought a house. Literally, we're getting stuff delivered that day. And I went in and I was like, so I'm off the air until my contract's up. I'm gonna get paid for the rest of the year, but after that, I gotta figure something out. And so that was 6 months. I didn't do anything social media wise, any of that stuff. So for anybody out there, by the way, who people are like, there's people who are like, oh, I wish I could quit social media, but for some reason they come up with excuses as to why they can't. Yes, you can. It's easy. I didn't do shit. I didn't go on social media. I didn't post anything. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So I did that for 6 months, and then December 31st hit on a Friday. It hit midnight, and I was like, wow, okay. So now I got to figure something out starting Monday. On that Monday, my program director Cadillac, my program director now, my old program director who started me, who's my program director now, that Monday morning, he called me up and he was like, let's talk. And I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And I met with him and signed a contract that week.
Well, I was going to say that. So now you're at Hot 96.9, but yeah, so you didn't originally start there. Is that because of that clause in your contract where you couldn't talk to people or you couldn't work for another station? Is that
I couldn't talk to anybody. So it was 6 months of, I was hoping, but you never know what's going on somewhere else. They could have been like, hey, we don't have it in the budget. We like the team we have now, whatever. So
yeah,
I was like hoping that would happen, but if it didn't, I was ready to explore and see what happens.
Was Pebbles already there prior to you joining?
Yeah.
She was. I thought so. Yeah, I thought that's what it was. And you had the previous existing relationship and jamming as well.
Yep.
So I think, like you said, for all that to happen, everything happens for a reason. And although it probably was a shitty thing, it probably was the best thing that never happened. You signing that contract, because I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like the ideal situation of you being able to join someone who you already worked with. The person who brought you on, who gave you a shot at the beginning, also brought you on. So it just sounds like you somehow you come out smelling like roses. So
honestly, it was in radio. If you have like a successful morning show and it's like a team and stuff like that, and it's probably the best situation ever of switching, because I went over to another station in the same market, so now people still know me.
yeah,
The station in the market was similar format, so it's not like something completely different music wise, and it's with the team that I was on with at that previous station before, so it was literally just changing frequencies. It's probably the best situation of switching radio stations that you could possibly have.
it's like you switch a sports team to go with a bunch of players from that previous team.
Yeah, your entire old team that you were winning with went from Chicago to Boston, and now you just left Chicago, and Boston gave you a contract. That's literally what happened. It was. I mean, it was lucky, but
yeah,
it was great, and I think the reason they took me off the air is because in radio, people they after 6 months of being gone somewhere, a lot of people in radio always switch. They go from city to city to city to city to city or whatever. So it's like they're constantly having to reintroduce themselves to people and be somewhere brand new or whatever. And people's attention spans are small, but I wasn't worried. I'm like, okay, if I am going to come back to Boston, 6 months, and 6 months out of 20 plus years that I was at freaking jamming. I'm like, you think people are going to forget? No, I'm going to come back like a damn wrestler who's been, who's
yeah,
like,
that's
oh,
what
his music hit. Oh, who is that? He's back.
It's so funny. That's literally what it was, even for myself as a fan, who because all of a sudden you were on, and I'm like you said, that wrestler feel of like a wrestler who goes to like another company and comes back and their music hits. It's like, oh my God, they came back in the Royal Rumble. They were the 30th entrant.
Exactly. And that's what it was. I'm like, finally, I get my chance to be a wrestler without hurting myself.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome. So I love it. I'm happy for you, man. Cause we love to hear you. We're glad that you're on, and like it was the most ideal situation. So
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, I love it's something that I love doing when I started, and I still love doing it now. And it's just funny because we've been on for so long that I forget what I talk about sometimes, and I'm very open book with stuff about my life,
yeah,
and so I've been on long enough that people have like grown up with me to the point where it's like
so
yeah, and,
yeah,
and like they're going through stuff in life, and and I'm going through stuff in life, and I'm talking about it on air, so people will come to me and they're like, like you can say the latest thing, my wife running the marathon for my ex-wife. They're like, damn, I remember when you just got married to your ex-wife and you had your kids and all that stuff. And it's I'll meet people who've been listening. I can tell how long someone's been listening, like 30 seconds into a conversation with them, because they'll talk about something from like a long time ago, or they'll talk about something from recently, or they'll talk about something from like throughout the like a sprinkle in all different stuff throughout the years. And I'm like, holy crap.
yeah. Because you had 2 kids with your first wife, right?
I had a son before I even got in mornings. I had a son when I was doing nights.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't married though. I had a son. It was a girl I was dating. So then I got married and I had my 2 daughters with my ex-wife. And I got divorced and then I got remarried and I had a son and a daughter.
Your two, yeah, you the 2 little ones. Yeah, no.
Yep.
Let's circle back. So now you do the second date updates, which are hilarious. I have the podcast. I listen to it at the gym. I'll be honest, because sometimes when I'm at the gym and I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to look at the time. I got to think of something to just, pass the time, make it a little fun, exciting. So one of my favorite thing about that you do on that show, and like I said, I feel like we're similar people because I do this in real life. I love your instigation because you know that these people are gonna say no, but you're over there going, trying
Oh
to
yeah.
find the silver lining. I think we can make this work, and it's like there's no way in hell that there's a snowball chance in hell that this is gonna work out.
I like to get into people's no matter what somebody's thinking. I always like to go like, let me see if I could get into their head and understand what their intention was for whatever it is. It might
Yeah,
not have come out the way they wanted to, but so I'll be like, hey, listen, what his intention was this. Yes, it came out weird, whatever. Yes, he had sex with your mom, but he didn't mean to.
there was one that I heard at the gym, and the woman at the treadmill next to me probably thought I was crazy because I was laughing because it was one where the guy had sex with with her grandma or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And she was like, "You had sex with my grandma," and you were like, and you were like, "Well, you never know, you never know."
Yeah.
And like, like
It
you
was
said,
once.
there's
Maybe it was
no
your grandmother's fault. Who knows? Maybe your grandmother
yeah,
came on to him. What's he gonna do?
maybe he thought she looked like you from I
Yeah.
don't know from a
He was
different
trying to
angle.
be polite. You can't say no to an old person, you know?
I love no, I do, and then I love how like Melissa and Pebbles are like, no, no, they're telling you no before you even say it, and you're like, I gotta ask, how does it feel
I
when
love
they
hearing, I love hearing how people say no. No one just says no, thank you. They're always like, "Fuck you."
yeah, right, right. They're like, no, no, no chance, no chance. You have someone else? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, how is it when they finally say yes? Like, is it really like when they're like, fine, we'll do
Shocking.
it?
It's shocking. I think
Yeah,
whenever we get a yes, we're like, play the lottery. Somebody
yeah,
said yes. I don't
yeah,
think we've ever had 2 yeses in a row. Ever.
yeah,
Ever, ever, ever. If we get 2 yeses in a month, that's successful.
yeah. Oh
No
my
one ever said when they say yes, I'm like, really?
I think I think there was because like I said, I do listen to it every morning, and I think there was a string of like I want to say 3 or 4 months where nobody said yes. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, damn, man, these people really fucked up royally. Like
Yeah.
some of them are crazy. Is that similar? Is that in the sense of I don't really like to do comparisons, but is it similar to jam skins in the sense of you have to um get the approval?
Oh yeah.
People think that they're a little bit more popular, so they're like, "No, I don't wanna do it," or they think that, they're is it similar to that?
It's similar, and it's actually it's more challenging because you're dealing with two people, not one person. So now it's with the jam scam. It's like I had one person to call, hope they answered, convince them to stay on the phone, and then after, get their permission or whatever. With this, it's one person giving us another person's number, so we got to get the other person to answer the phone first, convince them to stay on, not hang up on us, or or pick up the phone if they do hang up on us, pick it up again and hear us out, and not hang up the second they hear the other person's voice. I mean, for every one that you hear on air, we probably, I don't know, try like 30.
Really?
Yeah, because there's just some people who never answer the phone.
Yeah.
There's some people who immediately hang up on us. They immediately hang up when they hear the other person. Or the worst ones are the ones that, are just boring. Like, I just don't feel like we had a connection. Why not? I just, we just didn't have a connection. I'm like, what? And, like what you hear obviously on air, it's like it's edited down to like, there's people who's like, how is it that the person tells you right away why when you ask them why? I'm like, no one ever tells us right away
No.
why when I ask them why. It's 8 minutes of me being like, is it because of this? Is it because of this? And the person
You're trying to coax them into telling you what it was.
8 minutes down until like 20 seconds of, nah, I don't really want to see him. Why? Because he tried to fuck my grandma,
Yeah.
Otherwise, the second date update would be like, it would take up 45 minutes.
Yeah, right. It'd be a whole segment of it is a segment of the show, but
it'd be an hour of the show for
an
one.
hour.
We wouldn't run 4 a day. We'd run 1 a day.
You wouldn't hear Post Malone 3 times in an hour.
Exactly. We wouldn't have time for your favorite song over and over and over again.
Your acting was probably improved with the jam scams. I mean, because I'd love when you would call and you'd be like, you would say like you would really say a funny. You'd be like, "Hello, this is John Cena," and you'd say it really fast and like.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. The secret to that was you had to say that, because that's another thing. People be like, how did they not know that John Cena was calling him? And I'm like, because I would say it so fast and immediately get to the thing.
Yes.
That they wouldn't have time to circle back. So it'd be like, hi, this is John Cena calling from whatever. And as a person's thinking like, what name did they say? Because a lot of times when someone's calling you for something, you don't remember their name.
No.
It's like, hey, it's Tiffany calling you from Chase Bank, and you're just like, what's the bank want? So like, I'll say that, and
right, exactly.
of like the name, I'm like, I'm calling because you haven't freaking paid your damn bill in 3 years, and they're like, fuck you, I have paid my bill or whatever, and I'm like, we don't have any, So now like you get their mind. It's like a psychological trick. Yeah.
So at Hot 96.9, do you have creative reign? Are you able to kind of say, hey, this is the direction we want to go? Like, do you feel like well, I'm sure you do because you would be working there, but do you feel like who started the second date update? Was it you? Like, did you feel?
No, it's funny because the jam scam was started by the previous host, Baltazar, at Jammin'.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he started it. I took it and I made it better.
Yeah, you did. You did.
I said, thank you. And I ran that motherfucker to the end zone. And then second date update, it wasn't, I don't know. I think they started before I got there.
Okay.
I don't know with who, but yeah, they started before I got there. And then, yeah, I just got there and kept going with it. I like doing stuff like that. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it works.
Right.
The finish line is fun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think you're a Boston guy through and through, because if you were on any other radio station, I think people are so damn sensitive that they would almost try to cancel you because of the way that you're just natural. You're just your nature and your facetiousness, and which I appreciate. I'm the same way. So it's like, I definitely feel like because of like your over the top attitude that people would be like, nah, fuck this guy. Get him off the radio. Get him off the radio.
100%. If I went to start in a brand new city, I would have to tone it down like 10 million %, because now it's like I've been on for so long, and not just me, but we've been on, me, Pebbles, and Melissa have been on for so long that people, people listen and they're like, whether it's they agree with me or they don't, they're gonna pick their favorite. They have their favorite, and they kind of tolerate the others' opinions and what they say because of the dynamic. Just like it's just like, your friends.
Yeah.
You're not gonna. You have your friends who are like a little bit more, your intelligent friends. You have your friends who you like to mess around with and have fun. You have your friends who kind of snap off every now and then, but you're like, you know what? We grew up together.
Yeah.
So who, like I always say, I have cousins who I grew up with my entire life. I have like a lot of cousins around my age, and I'll always joke with some of them and be like, I wonder if we met each other as adults, if we'd be friends. I'm like, because we know all our bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, grew up with it, so it's like you get used to it, and that's how it is with people listening to me on the radio. It's like they grew up, so that it's kind of like a lot of stuff that I say, they're like, it's just Ramiro being Ramiro. Whereas if I just walked in a room full of strangers and did that, they'd be like, who the hell are you? So it's
Yeah.
like you
Who
have to
was this
build
guy?
that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to build it up, and even now there's some things that probably, yeah, like you said, other people might get canceled for that I'll say, and they're like, well, we know that he doesn't mean it.
It's just Ramiro.
Well, yeah, because I don't say anything, and I've always said it to people. I'm like, if somebody asks me why'd you say that about this or whatever, and I'm like, listen, I've never in my life have said anything in like a malicious, just to be mean way.
No.
Everything I do is to do it in some sort of funny, fun, look at it from this side sort of way. Is it always going to hit? No, it's not science.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to get up and swing and miss every now and then. So sorry, that one swung and missed. Yeah, but that's messed up because fill in the blank. No, that's messed up. Ultimately, when people get upset about something, it's because it's like a personal hot button to them.
Yes. Yes. It's personalized to them, so they're
Yeah.
sensitive to the matter.
Because
Right.
yesterday I was joking about this, which if somebody looked at it objectively, what I was talking about yesterday is way meaner than what I said today. But because you don't take that personal, you were laughing at it.
Yeah.
But because you're connected to this somehow, all of a sudden it's mean. And that's usually what it is, you know?
Yeah. That's usually. I mean, take the Will Smith situation. I mean, like
Yeah.
yeah. It's just like certain people like. You said like I find myself I'm in that way. I'm very flippant. So it's like I like to make light of situations.
Yeah.
Obviously, and you seem the same way. We know our lines. We're not gonna like mock people who are like suffering from cancer or something like that, but we like to kind of just be goofy, lighten the mood because it's kind of upsetting to talk about some heavy stuff. But
Right.
yeah, there's a time and place. Yeah, but I'm the same way with you. I think if you were ever to go to like a different radio station, people would
Oh,
be like,
they
this
wouldn't
guy.
give me a chance. They'd be like, F you, get off the well, I'd go on a different radio station. I'd be like, hi everybody, my name's Ramiro. I'm a dad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Whatever. You have to like slowly, you know, build it up
yeah,
organically, like a relationship and stuff. But yeah, and here it's the chance of somebody putting us on that's never heard anything about the show, hearing it and being like, oh, this is messed up. I mean, it's still a chance that could happen, but for the most part, there's somebody who maybe they're with who like turned them on to the show and they're like, listen, that's just how he is or whatever. It's kind of like you have to kind of stick with us for a little. It's like a relationship.
yeah,
You meet someone and it's like they're not going to be the same person forever that they were at date one.
yeah. Right,
So,
exactly. So I want to talk about the time where you were not only a radio host, but you were a detective. I want to talk about the package of weed that you
oh,
received. I love the video. So, what was your involvement in that? Because I love the video where you're like, if I see someone looking sweaty, if I see someone looking nervous, I'm questioning that.
man, I wasn't even the one that I walked in. They just happened to. I was the guy that they put on the news
Okay.
because I was joking about it.
Yes.
Yeah, I just saw, it was basically the mail room, and there was just like a crowd of people just like standing around. So, like when you see on TV, you see a crowd of people, and like it's like, what's in the middle? What are they staring at? And it was like one of those things. And I kind of like worked my way through the crowd, and I saw the open box with all the weed, and I'm like, who the hell? Who's that belong to? And everybody was like, I don't know, it got delivered here, all this stuff. Everybody's playing, innocent and stuff. And I'm like, let's crack it open. Let's just party with it and stuff. And we can't, we got to report it. I'm like, why?
Yeah, yeah, like
Yeah, I was making jokes. I'm like, listen, if no one's coming here saying like, did those fucking pounds of weed show up yet? I'm like, if no one's saying that, why do we gotta you take some, I'll take some, let's have some fun.
yeah, nobody's got to know, right?
Yeah, but they already like reported and stuff, and then like I don't even know how the news got involved, but they came and
But I loved it because even on the news, you were still joking. Like I said,
well, what am I gonna do? Take it seriously?
that clip of you saying, "If I see any of my coworkers sweating," and then
Yeah,
I think you said, "This guy doesn't even work in this room here, and he's over here."
yeah.
So it's
Well,
got to
it's
be him.
funny because when I was on the news, I remember I told my kids they love that show, The Office.
Oh, I love that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was so remember the guy Creed?
Yes.
The
Yes.
weird one? So there was wait, there was something what the hell was my line? It was what I forget what it was. He like named a specific weed. He was like
Oh, the Northern Lights cannabis. Yes, and you
yeah,
did
yeah,
say
yeah.
that
So it was Dwight was like, "Do you know what this is?" And he's like, "Yeah,
when he
that's
found
fine."
when
He
Dwight
knows
found the joint.
specifically. Yeah, and Dwight goes, "No, it's marijuana." So when when I went, when they were talking to me on the news about it, because some of the news people were like doing it lighthearted, but some of them came and they were so serious, like I was talking about a damn car crash or something.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Can you tell us your side of the story?" So like I started like joking with them back, like with their energy, and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I saw it and I wasn't sure what it was, but I'm pretty sure that it was Northern Lights cannabis." And like that, and that line, I did that specifically for my kids
Yes.
because I knew that they would recognize the scene. But yeah, it was, I just happened to be the guy they put on the news because if they put like somebody in the office, it wouldn't be as exciting.
And the news, it's funny you say that because you know how you said Dwight said no, it's marijuana.
Yeah.
The news then said otherwise known as weed. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was like, it was just like joking around. It's like we found a ton of weed that got delivered, and whoever was supposed to get it didn't pick it up, and now they're probably sweating bullets
yeah.
because all their weed's gone.
Did you ever like figure that out or anything, or was it just like you reported it and that was it? The
There
police.
was a rumor that there was one of the office people who had it, who accidentally it was sent to them or something like that. I don't know. I think that was their side of the story. They went on vacation and somebody was like, "Oh, I'll send it to you," and they thought they were joking, but they sent it to work. I don't know. I don't know.
So you haven't gotten down to the bottom of it.
No, it was either that or they were gonna send them like a little bit to work, and they ended up sending them a box.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
man.
it was probably one of those situations where we're sitting down telling 9 different stories, and they were just like, "Which one of these are you gonna believe?"
Yeah, it's like a real life game of telephone of like, hey, how did this happen? How did this happen?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. Too funny. The last thing I want to ask you is this: what's it with you crying with Disney movies and dog movies?
Dude,
Is
how
that
can you
is that is
not?
that is that? I'm only saying it. I'm totally joking. I'm the same way because it's funny. I said this to my brother the other day. I love horror movies. I don't know where your take on it is, but I love horror movies.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, I see them go. You know how like Michael Myers, right, or whoever turns towards the dog, and the camera pans into the dog. I'm
Yeah.
in my head. I'm like, don't you fucking touch that dog! Like here I am watching a movie of this guy slashing humans, but as soon as I think of the dog, I'm like, nope. So no, I don't know what it is. I cried like a baby to A Dog's Purpose.
For me,
Absolute baby.
oh man, how could you see? For me, it was there's specific scenes in movies that usually aren't like the main crying scene, I guess. Like,
But it
um,
breaks you.
yeah, because it's what it is. I have this thing with myself where it's like I know exactly where it's from. I connect it almost like with me with my kids, and I'm always like, am I being like a good enough father for them or whatever? So I kind of like connected into that. So for example, remember the movie Armageddon with Bruce
Yeah,
Willis?
yeah. Bruce
Okay,
Willis. Yeah,
so the scene that made me cry there was when he's in the ship and he's like basically he's like I'm gonna die because I'm gonna blow this thing up and I'm gonna stay on it. And he has his daughter back at NASA. He has her. He's like I want to talk to my daughter. So she comes over and he says it was something to the effect of like, hey, I know I promised to you, I promised you that I was gonna come back safe, but I'm not gonna be able to keep that promise. When he said that, that scene made me cry. And it's funny because to this day, I'm like, what the fuck? Her acting sucks because I feel like I got more emotional in that scene than she did. She just kind of looked at him like, all right, dad, that sucks. You ain't coming back. Sucks
yeah.
to be you. But so like that scene in the movie, probably my favorite movie of all time, Saving Private Ryan. Have you seen that one?
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You love that.
I love that movie for a million reasons. But the scene in there that made me cry. So the whole movie was Matt Damon, Private Ryan. Like he had like 3 or 4 brothers in war. They all died.
Yep.
So the military was like, we got to get this guy, bring him back to his mom. We can't tell her that every single one of her kids died. So
Yep.
it was like they send this little small unit to find him. Anyway, so the movie it starts off with Matt Damon as an old man walking to the cemetery on Memorial Day to see all the guys that basically sacrificed themselves for him. So movie's over. It's, they say Private Ryan. It cuts back to him as an old man at the cemetery, and he's just staring at it was Tom. I forget Tom Hanks' character's name, but he's staring.
I forget his name too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his headstone.
his
Yeah,
tombstone. Yeah, his headstone.
so he's staring at it, and his wife, the old man's wife, comes up behind him, and he looks at the wife and he goes, "Tell me I was a good man. Tell me I lived a good life." And that scene right there makes me cry, because I'm like, I think about stuff like that all the time. I'm like, you only get one chance at life, and I like to. I'm gonna credit this line to my wife. I always had the thought, she verbalized it for me. She, I want my life to be like a Chipotle burrito, where like you pack so much shit in it that people look at it and go like, how the hell are you gonna roll that up in one burrito? But they do it.
Yeah.
They go, they put their elbow into it, and they they get sweaty, but they fold it up, and it's like, that's how I want my life. I'm always like, listen, people say stuff like, hey, 220, 222, we'll never see that day again. And I'm like, are we ever going to see 221, 22?
Right.
Are we ever going to see that Tuesday? Like today is Wednesday, April 20th, 2022. There's never going to be another Wednesday, April 20th, 2022. So it's like, my point is, I'm always trying to like get the most out of life every day, even if it's like a day where it's just like, you just got to go to work and just got to do whatever. You still could do something to make it special. So that's why that scene connected with me. And then don't even get me started on the Disney movies, because those are all like with the moms dying and shit like that. And I just have a personal, because of my ex-wife being sick, and I'm always like, oh my God, those poor bunnies, they just lost their mother.
Yeah.
So
I'm the same way. I still, Lion King was my favorite movie. Have a tattoo of it. I still get a little choked up when I see him go, Dad, when Mufasa.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, okay. And then I do the and that and the Notebook when they're old.
Dude,
that
don't even get me started. My line with that is when she asked him how long did I have last, how long was it last time, and he said something like it was 5 minutes. That thing everyone loves that movie because of the connection between whatever, the young, when they're young.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I'm old.
Yeah, I'm like, I could give a rat's ass when they were young. They're stupid and always fighting. I'm like, it's when they were old. This old man sacrificed everything to be with this woman and try and bring her back. He's doing everything he can to bring her back for 5 minutes a day.
If he's lucky.
I'm like, think of it, like, sometimes I think about it too. And the funny thing about it, all these movies is, well, not the Notebook and those, but like the Disney stuff. It's like a lot of times, like, it connected with people because they were like, I was a kid and it was at that stage in my life. Like certain songs connect with you because of a certain age or a certain thing you're going through.
Right.
I'm an adult and I'm seeing this shit and I'm still like,
yeah, I do the same thing. I'm like, okay, all right, yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. Same thing with the Notebook. To me, I'm like, I'm not really into it when she's like slapping him and all that stuff. I
don't care about that. I'm like, you're just being young and dumb. That's how all couples are. They fight over stupid shit. It's like, that doesn't make me cry.
Yeah, no. But you're right. And then when they're in the bed, and then that's it. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness, if that's how everyone. And I think I haven't seen that movie in like, honestly, like a long time. But just kidding, a week ago. No, it really was a long time ago. But I think she remembered him right before they were about to. I think
she did. Well, she remembered him, but then she forgot him. So he had that, and then all of a sudden she started going, "Nurse, help me," because she forgot him and she thought the stranger was attacking her.
No, but I mean, when she's in bed and then
when they hold hands,
I think, and then
in my world, that she remembered him. They held hands, remembering each other.
They did that's and they crossed over to the next life, remembering each other. No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. No. Well, thank you so much, man, for doing this podcast. I really appreciate you doing this, taking time out of your day. It means a lot to me. Like I said, talking to someone who I listen to, grew up listening to, and admire. So it's just, I really appreciate it, man.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, thank you for having me. It was fun.
Awesome. Great. So thank you so much for tuning to another episode of the Reyes Reflection Podcast. That's going to do it. I'm the male Oprah and soon to be Ramiro's successor. I'm just kidding. He's
come and get it.
I'm kidding. So as always on the Reyes.
Listen, I don't want to interrupt your
go ahead
thing there.
Go ahead.
But it's it's right now the way society is. It's funny because people either have a people are either 1 or 10, and by that I mean they're really into radio, which is short attention span, or they'll listen to a 90-minute, 2 hour, 3 hour podcast. So it's like either short or long. So it's what I'm trying to say is keep doing what you're doing because you're doing a really good job at it.
Thank you. I
So
really
yeah,
appreciate that. It means a lot. Like I said, gonna make me cry. No, it means a lot to me to hear from, like I said, someone who I admire in this media space tell me that I'm doing a good job. I really, because when I hear my mom saying it doesn't really hold much weight. But I'm kidding.
no, you're doing good. You do good. You keep the conversation going and stuff like that. And I know it's hard. And depending on who you're talking to. With me, it was probably easy because I don't shut up. But I mean, depending on who you're talking to, sometimes people they don't like to talk about certain things, or they'll like answer your question and give you like a yes or no, and you're like, can you expound on that, please? But
Right. It's like those bad second date updates. It's like, can you give me a little
yeah,
bit more? Can you give me a little bit more to work with here? I need
right,
something. I need something. I'm gonna pull into. No, I'm trying. I'm only 5 weeks in, so I'm trying my best, doing the best I can. So
good stuff.
thank you, brother. So as always on the Raise Reflection podcast, may you live, may you love, and may you thrive. Take care, everyone.